What's going on? It's not too awful early this morning. Slept in a little bit. Welcome back to the channel. We're gonna try to get on some fish today in a new spot. I'm doing some searching. I've got a tournament in a couple of weeks on Guntersville, and I'm doing some searching of some different areas. I hadn't been down in here in probably 5 or 6 years. Used to bring my son down here when he was real little. But I hadn't been down here in ages. So we're gonna do a little exploring today. Got a couple of different things tied on. Got a chatterbait. We're gonna throw a chatterbait. I always throw a chatterbait at least a little bit. Got Texas rig, wacky rig, Ned rig. Okay. But what it is we're gonna be going up into a creek that you got about a mile or so before you start hitting really big rocks. I'm not sure. I hadn't been up in there in forever. So we're gonna see what we get into. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom. I got a few more videos coming out in the next couple of weeks, I hope. Trying to get as much content as I can, trying to get to that first 100 subscribers, preferably in the next couple of months. But let's get to fishing. It's not too bad hot right now. Hopefully there'll be some shade up in this creek and we can get some. We won't have to I won't have to absolutely just burn up. But let's get to fishing and let's get going. Or about 5 foot right here. So we'll try it a little bit. Today is more of a scouting trip than it is actual fish. And I'd love to catch some fish, don't get me wrong. I would love to catch some fish, but this is more of a scouting trip than it is anything else. A little PB&J TRD here. This was one of the primary baits in the creek the other day. So I've also got it still tied on. Can't see with them, can't see without them. It's so humid out here. My glasses are fogging faster than I can even see through them. A lot of activity. And there is a little bit of current coming out of this creek. Not much, because there's not a spit of wind out here, and I'm getting pushed a little bit backwards, so. That's a good sign too. There's a little bit of current. There might be some spotted bass hanging around up here. I know Guntersville's not really, they're known more as a largemouth lake. It's known more as a largemouth lake, but there's a fish right there. There's a fish right there, a little guy. But there's a fish right there. All right. Broke the skunk. He's a little guy, but the TRD strikes again. Little largemouth. little bitty largemouth. Let him go. Now this is the PB&J TRD, just a plain TRD. It's what's sad is it's the last one I got, so when this one gives out, that'll be the end of it. I'll have to move to something else. But hey, that's a fish. There's another one. There's another one. Little guy. But hey, we're getting bites. We're getting bites. That's the biggest thing. Oh, easy now. Easy now. Another little guy. Another little guy. Go back. Grow. That's two that's come out of this little tree right here. Now, a lot of times, if you're getting bites on stuff like this little TRD, if you get consistent bites, you might want to upsize. Sometimes you want to upsize to see if you can catch a little bigger fish. That's why I have that lizard. That's why I have the lizard tied on. Whoosh. That wasn't no little fish. I heard that. That's on up in the creek. So as you can, I went around the corner here, and as you can see, there's a another big mound of rock. So I don't plan, unless I hook into something fairly substantial right here, I do not plan to I did hook into something pretty substantial, but I think it's a rock. I do not plan to go past those, so I'll go back and I'll drag back across and start working my way back. But it's a neat little place right here, I'll have to say. If there was some little more current, you might catch some fish coming up in here, but I don't know. With this just basically being just a little bitty pool right here, I don't know that there'd be. I really don't know if there's gonna be. Well, there's a couple of, there's a decent little old bass right there. I can see it. See if we'll get him to hit a Ned. Bunch of brim. I mean a bunch of brim. That's not a bad little old bass right there. And right there he is. Right on cue. That's not a bad bass at all. That's a little spot. That's not a bad bass at all right there. That's a little spotted bass there. Whoop, well just jump on up in here, why don't you? That's a pretty good little fish. For a little pool like this, that's a pretty good little fish. I hope I'm recording. So anyway, I'm not sure how long that fish is. Maybe might be 13. Not a bad little fish, little spotted bass. Let him go. He wanted to come back in the boat. Okay, so that might be something worth. Try it right here for a few more minutes. Have to discover. I'm not sure in the tournament if I can drag over stuff. That's something I'll have to check with the director on that. My TRD has just about had it. I didn't think that was that fish. I didn't think he was that big. I saw the fish over there, but I didn't think he was that big. And you guys that say you can't catch more than 1 or 2 fish off a Z-Man, you're doing something wrong, because That's probably the 12th, 15th fish off of that one TRD right there. So far as tackle wise, I didn't go over this. Let me kind of explain what I got going on here. This is a cheap rod. This is a Walmart special, or actually I think this is a Dunham special. It's a Cherrywood HD Berkeley. It's 6.5 foot, medium light. I've got 15-pound braid, which is pretty fun. It's kind of funny. I saw a guy do this on YouTube, and I've got about 20 yards of 12-pound fluorocarbon. And the reason why I did that is because I can't throw this more than about 15 or 20 yards at a time anyway to get any sort of hook set. And so I decided, hey, so like I'm already back up into the fluorocarbon. And so I'm really almost fishing like a mini backing. That braid is almost like a backing. But I got this paired with a, this is a Piscifon Blaze. It's a Blaze, yeah, it's 2000 size reel. Good reel. If you've never heard of them, look them up. It's a really good reel. I've got 3 of them. I've got, and they're all, I think they're all, well, this one may be, I think the other ones are 2500s. I've got, I'll have to look when I get back. I believe they're 2500s, but they're really, really good reels. They're actually saltwater reels. I actually bought my first one to surf fish with down in Gulf Shores. And so I liked it so well though that I was like, you know what? Dink, 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 dink. I only brought a skeleton amount of tackle today. I didn't want, because I wasn't real sure what I was going to be getting myself into. If I was going to be, you know, lugging stuff like up and down. Because if there were pools up and down through here, I wouldn't have mind dragging up through a couple of them and fishing. But there's only this one, so I brought more with me today than I did when I went down and creek fished a couple of weeks ago. And I did do that. I did bring more with me. I brought one extra rod. I brought one extra rod. I brought a couple of different plastics with me today that I didn't bring last time. There's a fish right there, and that's a good one. That's a really good fish. Another good fish, another good spot. No, that's a largemouth. That's a large jaw there. That's not a spot, but a pretty decent little fish. So we got a spotted bass. Oh, he just barely is hooked. Oh, he popped loose, thank you. Another, we got a largemouth and a spotted bass in the same hole right here, which is kind of funny, I guess. Give it another look, see if there's another one in there. He actually hit where I'm sitting at. Got his brim. Messed up my TRD a little bit. So I was talking about, you can catch some decent fish on these TRDs. You're not going to just catch dinks all the time. Especially in scenarios like this. You're fishing an isolated pool. You can't get a boat back here, obviously. You can't walk it from the other end because we're a long ways away from the park. So this is really an isolated area here that you could really come up in and catch some fish for sure. All right, so we're back at it. GoPro battery died, so I had to charge it up. I've caught a few other small ones, nothing to really write home about. Kind of doing some changing up. just experimenting with different things. It seems like the straight worm, even just bites in general, is getting the most bites. So TRD, or I've got some Yum Dingers or some Cincos, but I kind of want to throw some, I kind of want to fish my ultralight stuff today. So that's what we're going with. I've made my way back up. I'm almost back to what I would constitute the mouth of the creek, I guess. There's not a whole lot of water. I mean, you're only talking maybe a mile from there back up to where I drug across and caught those 2 nice fish earlier. So there's not just a ton of water in here. There's a lot of fish. I'm beginning to question if there's any, decent fish in here. I've caught those 2 good ones up there in that pool, but other than that, that's really been the only. I see that right there's one. I should have kept my mouth shut. That's a decent little fish. Not a monster, but that's a decent little largemouth. I said that the straight worm has been the ticket today, that's for sure. Whether it be the TRD or, are you quite done? I guess not. You're coming up here. It's not a monster, but that's a, right here, if you can get this TRD out of his mouth. Yeah, 12 and a half inch fish. Little largy. Hey, buddy. But I changed. I had some strikes last time out on the big TRD. So I put another one on, and I tried to kind of match the color of that PB&J. This is as close I got. This is a, I want to say it's a molting crawl is the color. And I'm getting back out toward the cove. So if you hear an echo, you're not going crazy. It is actually the echo from the cove up here. So, all right. So got in off the water, got the kayak loaded in the back of the truck. Pretty good morning. I didn't get out, like I said, I didn't get to fishing till about 6:30 this morning. Ended up with, I think, 8 fish, 7 fish, something like that. I can't, when I'm not tournament fishing, I don't keep count much. I just catch them. But it's a pretty good morning. I think I caught every fish on the TRD. Caught one on the big TRD. Rest of them were on just a plain TRD. Catch those 2 pretty good ones. Probably a couple of 14, 15s. That's for a creek. That's pretty good. Not real sure what I'm gonna do yet on the tournament in a couple of weeks. I know where I could go and probably catch some better fish, but it might not happen with the water temperature the way it is. I haven't fished that particular spot since May. I know there's good fish there. I know there's quality fish there, but water was in the low 80s, high 70s last time I fished there. So that being said, I ain't 100% sure on what I'm gonna do. I'm leaning toward coming back here. I think there's some quality fish to be caught if you could take a little more time. I only fished about 3 hours, really. I paddled the whole way up to begin with. I caught those 2 real quick, and then I paddled all the way up pretty much to the mount, as far as I could go. So I didn't really fish all that long. I might have fished an hour and a half. Most of the time I was just paddling around looking. So that was pretty good morning. I nearly got stung by a bee. Pretty good morning. I'm happy with it. I'm satisfied. I would not hesitate to come back here for a tournament. It's like I said back when I was out on the water, tournaments in August, most people do creek tournaments because that's the easiest way to catch fish this time of year. It is tough tough out on the main lake. I'd just likely go out there and skunk as I would, you know, catch 5 fish. So I think the possibility of me catching 5 fish, which is more than a lot of people will do. A lot of people will go skunk because they're going to go out on the main lake, and I may skunk, I don't know. I think the odds of me catching 5 fish are better up in this creek than it is out on the main lake. It's pretty close to another put in. If I need to, I will. I can run up here, load it and throw it in the back of the truck and bid another put in the other put in that I was going to fish anyway in about 10 minutes. So, and I'd just be fishing bridge at that point in time. You know, throwing out there in 30 foot of water with a swim bait or a big deep diving crankbait or a shaky head or something, and just throwing. So good morning. I'm satisfied with it. I got to go get some more. If you didn't see what I was throwing, this is the bait. This is the regular TRD. This is the PB&J color, Z-Man. This one right here is wore out. I've had people say, I only catch 2 or 3 fish. I've probably caught 15 fish on this one bait right here. I threw it. I did get a couple of bites on a wacky rig. I ended up taking it off. I did get a couple of bites on a wacky rig, and I did get a couple of bites on this lizard on that Texas rig. That's that blue, and it's called moccasin blue. I threw this little crawl right here for about 25-30 minutes and did not get the first nibble. I thought I might at least catch a brim on it. Threw a chatterbait, threw big TRD, caught a couple on it. So nothing of real concrete. It's just kind of all over, but the straight tail was the way to go. I did not get the first bite on a curly tail worm. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna get back out here probably sometime next week, maybe one afternoon, paddle back up. Might try to fish it later in the afternoon, see if I can pick up a quality fish or two there. But until next time, I'll see you on the water.